Alrighty, so this video is about the real source of terrorism. Now, this video might remind you of the video I made about the Santa Barbara shooting kid, and that's for a good reason, because I believe that terrorism is not the result of um, it's not the result of Islamist propaganda, as many people think. But it is really the result of desperate people, desperate men, usually. In the modern world. You see, in the modern world, it's become the bar has been raised to earn money in the modern world. You have to work harder and do a higher level of work than ever has had to be done before. Used to be you could make a decent living, um, find a decent wife, have a decent family, just by being your average mechanic or um, working a factory worker or, I guess there was a lot of jobs. Generally there wasn't as much of an income gap, and there wasn't as much. Yeah, there wasn't. It wasn't as difficult to make a living, I think, in the past, because there was generally, there was efforts taken to make sure that because taxes were higher, I think, and because there were more social programs in the past, gave people more of an opportunity to find a comfortable place for themselves. But that's all changing, and what you end up having is a lot of people who, they're not the go-getters. Maybe in the old days, this is my theory anyway, in the old days, I don't think the go-getters had as hard of a, the non-go-getters, I should say, didn't have as hard of a time making life work. But now it's gotten to the point where there's no sympathy for the less motivated, less ambitious, and we're sort of being left behind to fall through the cracks. By the way, I'm sick, so sorry if I'm a little congested here, but just thought I'd let you know. So yeah, there's more people falling through the cracks, I think, and that's where terrorists come from. You know, maybe it also has to do with the fact that a lot of people subconsciously are aware that we're headed in a negative direction as a civilization. It's. I think we're seeing signs. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of I'm sure there's differing opinions on this, but certainly with global warming, um, we're seeing signs of potential collapse in the not too distant future. How distant is the question? I mean, we all know, we should know that the civilization is going to collapse. No civilization goes on forever. So the real question is, how long does this one go on for? And I don't know. I guess to me, it seems as if, I just read a recent article talking about how we've sort of gotten to a point where um, innovation's kind of slowing down a little bit, and we're more interconnected than ever. There's more threats to civilization than there ever used to be, and especially the peak oil thing. And people are thinking it's done because the price of oil has gone down, but I'm more of the opinion that we're currently going through the Rocky Plateau, which is a phenomenon that happens when sort of we'll see the oil price go up and down and up and down. It'll be a roller coaster ride for a while. And then I think, especially when at some point the Saudi Arabias can't just keep the flow open, and the fracking wells will dry up, which happens a lot faster than the big oil fields that have been pumping for decades. And at that point, I think we'll start to see the beginnings of collapse anyway. So that's my opinion. I have no proof of that. I've been wrong on this a lot before. So, but anyway, the point is, I think there's less to go around. I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing major companies hoarding money, because I think they kind of have that feeling that things are about to go bad. The world economy has not really truly recovered even since the crash of 2008. and there's still a lot of economic uncertainty, and that's why we see the stock market. Not you'd think that with the price of oil being so low that we'd see continual rise in the stock market, but that's not happening. So my guess is that's a sign that there's still a lot of uncertainty as to our economic future. And I'm willing to bet that at some point it's going to go down, and I think it's going to be when, I think it's going to be because a lot of these oil price waverings, it's making it hard to predict how profitable oil products are going to be when they start them. So they start them, and maybe they have profit, and then things happen like Saudi Arabia trying to take the profit, and so they become unprofitable, and I think they'll become profitable and unprofitable, and I think there's just a lot of uncertainty, and it's kind of hard to predict, and we're seeing a time right now where it's not as easy to make money as in the oil world as it was when oil was just gushing out of the ground, and it was easy to just put that to work. Not only that, but we've got the whole issue of climate change and how that's going to affect how much oil can be burnt at this point without endangering civilization, if not the existence of a lot of life forms on this planet. So anyway, it's kind of coming around a long way because of that uncertainty. I think basically we're seeing there's better, more larger income inequality now than there's been in a long time. If you there's a video online, a guy explains about Thomas Piketty, who was talking about how we're at levels now where there's likely to be potentially a revolution at some point relatively soon, because we've gotten to a level where basically the gap from rich to poor has gotten so large that when it's gotten this large in the past, revolutions have happened. So I don't know how soon that's going to happen. I don't really want a revolution to happen. Part of me wants it, and part of me knows I'll just be dead if it does happen. But anyway, so I think what we're really seeing with terrorism is you have a lot of guys who just are powerless, kind of like the shooter in Santa Barbara. They are not respected by society because they don't have the earning power. And maybe they're like me and they want to dedicate themselves to a bigger cause than just earning money and taking part in this misguided societal push towards, continuous, unrestrained, unending growth, which should be obvious to anybody who, has the ability to think in terms of the big picture that can't continue forever. So, people, I think, it's also harder. I think there's I guess people are grasping for, what I'm saying is I think a lot of these men that perform these acts, they're grasping for something to believe in. Because society has basically rejected them. They either don't feel that pursuit of wealth at all costs is, or the normal, American dream or whatever you'd call it in other countries. They don't feel like that's a honorable goal. Either that, or they just don't have the skills to achieve it, or they do have the skills to achieve it, but they're just lazy. But one way or the other, these people, we're constantly reminded. I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but especially in America, we're constantly reminded of how inferior we are, because they tend to lather praise and worship on the rich. And it's not necessarily that, in a lot of ways, money does equal happiness because it gives you freedom. I went to Maui recently, a week, spent $1,000, and it was one of the greatest weeks I'd had in recent memory. But it cost me $1,000. I couldn't really afford it, but I just said screw it. I'm gonna go anyway. But that's how money buys you happiness. You can go to beautiful places. You can, enjoy expensive things. You can sort of, it goes back to the biological ability to kind of, when you have money, it allows you to hoard resources. Basically, having a lot of money is like hoarding the resources, and biologically, we want to have as many resources at our disposal as is possible. So, when you don't have those resources, you're poor, and you're being told you're not as good as the people who have the money, and you're being um, there's so much there's teasing going on. The advertising teases people with fantasies of beautiful women or men or whatever, beautiful situations, freedoms, and men get, or especially men, I think we get tired of it. We have a need to feel like we matter. The Unabomber called it the power process. They say that we've been denied the power process. In the old days, the power process was, was hunting. You sort of provided for your family. Now there's a modern equivalent of it. That's not quite like the old days. In the old days, you just had to be alive and capable of hunting. You didn't have to have all these skills. Now you have to be, you have to get financial skills. You have to kind of put your ethics aside to some extent and support a system that may not be leading to ultimate disaster. So, the power process is sort of corrupted in its classic form. It's as crazy as the Unabomber was for bombing people. I think, he was a very smart man, and I think he understood that, when you take away the opportunity for a man to exhibit some amount of power over his situation, then he will react. And I think that's what happened with the Unabomber also. He reacted to having his power stripped from him. And I guess that's how I think these terrorists feel. They feel disenfranchised. They don't have a way to reinforce their own masculinity, and so what they do is they turn to a religion that tells them, "Don't worry, you will be the ultimate man after you die, because you get 40 virgins or whatever the hell they promise in the book, in the Quran." And I think that's the thing. I think most of these guys, they're not really in it because they believe in God. I don't think anyone should seriously believe that if you die in the name of God, killing other people, or that I don't think anyone should feel justified in killing other people in the name of God. Any just God would never, any God worth worshiping would never want you to kill somebody. There are better ways to reduce the population. Let's say that. It's just that seems to be one of the most fundamental rules of a just God would be, don't kill other people. So, and there's a lot of stuff in the Bible that people could, there's, I think in every religion, it's not just Islam alone. There's a lot. Think about what Abraham and his son, and God telling Abraham to kill his son. Would a just God really do that? There's stuff in every religion that's may not necessarily be, obviously is not to be taken literally. It's just meant as a parable to teach you something. So I think what's going on is, these guys are looking at Islam and they're seeing something that's meant as a parable. It's not meant literally, but they think it's going to happen. They think it's going to reaffirm their manhood. You'll kill these people, they'll suicide bomb, or they'll, do whatever they think they're doing in the name of Allah, and it'll reinforce their value somehow in the world. And, I don't blame people for, wanting to stand up for something that's just, it's hard to believe, it's also hard, the other option is to work your ass off and become some capitalist. And, if you disagree with the way the system is going, then, that doesn't feel like something that on the inside, that really, is going to be affirming a reason to live. I personally can't enjoy the idea of making a profit off of other people. That's what it really means to be a successful capitalist, is to learn how to make more money from the work of other people than you give them. You're earning more. You're taking value from what they do and giving it back to yourself. That doesn't mean you don't have to work hard yourself also, but you are living on the backs of others if you're a successful capitalist. There's no doubt about it. Maybe you might feel like you're justified in that, but I don't necessarily think that one kind of work, management or technical skill, is any more valuable than you may be is any more valuable than somebody who works as a peon at the bottom of the ladder. These people work hard too. The people at the bottom work hard. The people at the top work hard. It's just that the people at the top are more savvy about how they work. But should we really be rewarding people as many times more for being savvy as has been done lately? I don't think so. I think everyone deserves the right to work hard and earn a decent living and receive the true value of their work. And I believe people are being shorted the true value of their work when it comes to monetary compensation. And there's a lot of things systemically that help once you have that money in which you've generated profit off of the work of other people. It allows you to kind of coast on that profit. It allows you to kind of there's a lot of ways of protection for those people who work the hardest, and that's because the people who work the hardest have control over society, and they put in things that are favorable to themselves, unsurprisingly. So anyway, but getting back to the point, so yeah. So basically, I think that's what happens with these people. They're frustrated. They're society doesn't care about them. The world at large doesn't care about them. They feel like that they're here for no reason, that they have no purpose, and so they are desperate to turn to anything that they think will give them purpose. And I think that they turn to Islam, radical Islam, violent Islam, because it gives them a chance to regain their masculinity, to say, I'm big, man, I am tough, I am part of a fighting force that will go out and dominate other people and tell other people how we're going to do things, and if you don't do it our way, it's the highway. And that's kind of a masculine thing. It's kind of a way to assert dominance. And when you're the least dominant person in society, you want to figure out a way to do that. You want to find a way to tell the world, hey, I'm not going to be ignored here. I'm not going to go by the wayside. I'm not just going to die and have you all forget about me. And the way I'm going to do that is I'll act out. And, they need Islam or, maybe another religion, mostly Islam these days, to justify their actions and justify their violent behavior. So there you have it. I think the real solution to terrorism is not killing Muslim people. And I should state that, in defense of Muslim people, that radical Islam is not the largest percentage of the people, the followers of Islam. Radicals are a small percent. But they get a lot of press, and I think it's because they're trying to misdirect people. They're trying to keep people from realizing the true reason for terrorism, which is inequality, and not just, these beliefs don't just come out of nowhere, is all I'm saying. There's a reason why people turn to radicalism. There's a reason why people turn to radicalism in countries other than where it came from, and that is they need justification to act like a big man. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my point. And, I would not turn to those things myself because I have lost faith in a just God, unfortunately, because it's hard for me to believe in a God that would allow the world to degrade in the way I'm seeing it degrade. And I have a hard time understanding how you're supposed to fight successfully for justice in a world where one individual is mostly powerless to change things on a larger scale. You're going to die if you even come close to being successful at changing anything, and that's the real shame of it. Anyway, so yeah, terrorists, that's what their deal is. All right.